Guys, I'm Clay. I'm a drywall taper. Well, I'm a drywall contractor. Today I'm a taper because I'm taping this house. I'm going to show you how to put corner bead on an arched opening, a drywall arched opening, and how to get the corners to line up. And then we're going to need to put two pieces of bead here. So I'm going to try and show you how to line those two beads up too, so you don't have any bumps and it's a nice, straight, smooth finish. So first, we're going to start with the corner. This is a paper bead. It's a 9 foot. I'm going to fill this with mud with my bead roller. I'm going to stick it on, but I'm not going to push it down until I put the first vertical piece on, which will be an 8 foot bead because we have a 9 foot ceiling with an 8 foot opening here. So I'm going to start by putting the mud in the bead. This is my bead roller here. I'm just going to put the mud in the bead like so. So as you can see, the inside of that bead's covered in mud. The mud's mixed up. It's kind of runny, not really runny, but runny enough that it'll roll with this roller. So I'm just going to fill this whole bead like so. Keep on going until the bead is done. All the way through here. Get to the end here. Make sure there's lots on there. And then I'm going to take the end of the bead and I'm just going to give it just a little squeeze there just to make sure it's not flared out. Otherwise, it's not going to join up properly and you're going to end up with a bit of a mess. So I'm going to go up now and I'm going to put this bead on the top up here. I always start with the top because the top just seems to work out better when you butt the bead on the vertical up to the piece that's horizontal. So I'll just kind of stick this on up here. Because the bead's loaded with mud inside, it sticks to the drywall by itself. You just kind of slap it on. And you just kind of give it a little squeeze here to stick it on there. And you can turn it a little bit with your fingers if you need to make sure it's sitting properly, because you don't want it twisted one way or twisted the other way. Otherwise, it's not going to finish properly. So there we go. The horizontal bead's on. I'm going to grab myself an 8 foot bead for the vertical here. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to fill it full of mud and then I'm going to stick it on and I'm going to try and line those two corners up. I have my 8 foot bead here now. Again, I'm going to give that just a little squeeze on the end. Bead roller, grab this thing full of compound, or mud as we call it in the industry here. I'm sure most people call it mud in. We're just going to put it in, like so, roll it in here, and get rid to the end, make sure you don't some on there. Again, get the end, just a little squeeze, not a lot, just a little bit to make sure it's not flared out. And I'm going to go over here and I'm going to put this on the vertical corner. So just kind of slide it on. Then I'm going to push it up until it touches the bead that's on the top. Again, just push the paper down with my fingers, making sure the bead's sitting pretty good. Just like that. And I'm going to grab my pan and my knife. I'm going to line these two corners up. And I don't know how well you can see it on this. If you zoom in, maybe watching the video, you'll be able to see. But you want this bead and this bead here to have this corner at the exact same spot, so that when you go around the corner, there's no bump here. So you just want to play with it a little bit, which is why, excuse me, I don't push it on and finish the bead until after I've got the second bead on, because we want to make sure that it's going to line up. And in order to do that, we need to be able to move both corner beads. So there's that one and that one. That's lined up pretty good there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to clean a bit of this paper, like so. And I'm going to come up the other side and do the same thing. While you're doing this, you want to put a little even pressure on there to make sure it's stuck down, but not so much that you move the bead around. And I'm going to do the same on the top one here. just like so. We're going to come in the corner, we're going to come back this way, just like so. Now you can see that there's a hole here from where the two pieces of drywall are. And there's two ways that I do this. Sometimes I just fill it full of mud, which is what I'm going to do right now. If it's a big hole, then I'll take a small piece of tape and I'll tape over top of that hole. So if you just fill that hole up like that with some mud, that's going to dry now, and that's going to help keep it from shrinking and cracking in the future. So I'm just going to continue on down this bead, cleaning here as I go. Make sure it's sitting where I want it. Come down, and I'm going to stop probably about a foot from the end of the bead, and then I'm going to come back this way. I'm going to clean this on the underside like this. We're going to bring it back into this here. And there, that's done. And I'm going to jump down. I'm just going to finish the bottom of this vertical bead and just going to finish cleaning it off. Make sure she's still sitting where I want it. Seems pretty good. Go down here. Come back up here. And I know that you'll see some where they say, oh, start from the middle and work out because you don't want to get air bubbles. Well, the paper on this corner bead is perforated pretty well, so the air comes through the paper as you're cleaning. Plus my mud is relatively thin, so it also squeezes out right through those little holes and it sticks the bead on good. So that vertical bead's now on. I'm just going to set my pan down. Now what I have here, this is a short piece, this is a half of one of the other beads, because what I've done is I've already finished the other side. So I used the bead, I cut it in half, finished off the top, and then I saved the other half for this side. So I'm going to go back up and I'm going to trim this, and we're going to put this piece on. So just go over here, just making sure here. Okay. So the easiest way to do this, you don't need to take out a tape measure. Take your corner bead, just butt it into the end of the other bead, bring it over to the corner, give it a little snip with your snips, cut the excess off, just like so, give it a twist, toss that because we don't need it, and then I'm just going to do the same thing with the end of this. My snips flare it out a bit, so I'm just going to give it a little squeeze. Just here, I'm going to give it a little squeeze because when it's cut at the factory, the machine that cuts it will flare the end out a little bit. And I'm going to fill this with mud, and I'm going to join it right up to the end of this bead here. And I'm going to do the same thing as I did in the corner to make sure that we've got a nice straight line and that these two beads line up. Okay, so, I'm just going to take this bead now. I'm going to put this bead on my bucket here. Grab my bead roller, and fill it inside of the bead compound, just like the other beads, like so. And we have it. This bead's got mud all inside it. Now I'm going to go up and I'm going to join it into this one up here. Stick that on. Like so. Now there's something bothering me over here. I'm not sure what's going on. A little chunk of mud from taping this corner. Put that on there. Okay. Now we're in better shape. Just give that a little squeeze. Line it up, make sure it's sitting properly. And then right here, this is where the two beads join together. The reason I didn't completely clean this is so I can move it. So I can move this one and I can move this one until I get them right where I want them, so that I get a nice straight line and I don't have a ridge here, which is going to leave a line in your compound when you coat it. So just do that like so. And we're going to just, so here I think needs squeezed in just a little more. There we go. Okay, so that's on there. That seems to be pretty good. So I'm gonna go over here, I'm gonna grab a pan and a knife. I'm gonna come back, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just clean it off just like the beads over here. So, take extra care where they're going together, so that neither bead moves. If they do, we just give a little tap, clean up some more, and across here, and on the top of this. So we can move that a bit if we need to for the other vertical bead. Now what I'm also going to do is I have a little bit of mud on my knife. I just like to go over where it joins together. Just pull a little bit of mud across it, top and bottom. It's not really to seal it, it's just for me to see that it looks nice and straight and flat, which this does, so we're good with that. So now, I'm going to grab another 8-foot bead. I'm going to finish this vertical. And then we've done one whole side of this arched opening, and hopefully you've learned how to do it, and you can give this a try yourself. We have our other corner bead, or paper bead, for the vertical here. Paper bead because you see it has metal on the inside, and it's paper on the outside here, right? So metal inside for strength, and the paper helps to stick it on the wall, keeps it from cracking and everything, like those old metal corner beads that I'm sure everybody's used to seeing. Put a little mud in here. These paper beads, this is the way most people do it these days. It's certainly the way all drywall professionals do it. They always want paper beads. Because we're going to get a much better finish with this corner bead than we would with the metal bead. Give that a little squeeze. And come over here. Stick the bottom on the wall there. Slide it in place. Push it up till it touches this one. And I'm just going to kind of set it on. Get that little twist here and there if it needs it. I'm running my fingers down the edges of the metal to see that the metal feels like it's sitting on the drywall on both sides about the same way. Which means when you go to finish the bead, it should finish up nice. Come up here, a little wiggle here, make sure these two corners line up. Look pretty good right there. So I'm just going to give this a little clean here, and then give it a little clean here. Right, and then we'll do the same thing. Take a bit of this mud. Fill up this little hole here in the corner. Now, by doing that, you're filling the corner, but you can also get a feel for how these are lined up as well. Okay, and that's pretty good. So, I'm just going to continue cleaning off the edge of the bead where the paper is to stick that paper to the wall. So, I'm going to jump down, I'm going to finish the bottom of this off, and then this arch is effectively beaded. It's going to be ready for compound as soon as the beads dry. Down here, clean her up, just like so. Okay. There we go. And that's that. So that right there, that is how you put a paper bead on an arch drywall opening. So I know a lot of people think arch, you know, a curve. They consider this an arch as well. It's just an opening that doesn't have any doors or trim on it. It's got drywall all the way around. So you're going to have to put the corner bead on, and then you just cover that with compound. And I'll show you how to do that in another video. But for now, that's it for this video here. I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed it, and there'll be more to come.